Hey everyone, welcome back. It's another episode of Believe in Vikings with your host Mike Wobschall and Bryant McKinnie. It's a BMac Monday, but on a Tuesday, as some logistics were such that Bryant McKinnie and I weren't able to record yesterday, so we're coming at you today. But that's all right because everything's pushed back a day this week as the Vikings' next game is a Monday nighter against the Chicago Bears. BMac and I will talk through the Vikings win over the Atlanta Falcons, and then we'll look ahead to their game against the Chicago Bears on Monday night. All of that coming up in a minute. But first, BetOnline continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, the NBA, and college basketball, NHL to UFC. Head to BetOnline today and don't forget to use the promo code BELIEVE for your welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, the game starts here. BMac, how's it going, bud?
Going pretty good.
All
Had a
right.
good weekend. We had Art Basel down here in Miami. It's
Ooh,
like a big art show. Accordingly, it's supposed to be the biggest art show in the United States. It's here every December.
okay.
So I went to a couple events that friends put together and stuff like that.
You've got a really you have a unique personality blend of like you can sit here and like talk football, you know,
A
but you've got a really, you know, uh
wide range.
yeah, but yeah, exactly. You got music interests, you have art interests, you have
Mhm.
business interests. Where do you think that how do you think that happened?
I really don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, just growing up, I've probably seen my mom work a lot, and then just getting the opportunity to meet different people throughout the
Yeah.
years, and then realize I have interest in certain things.
Yeah.
And then having the opportunity like to pursue music and things like that,
Yeah.
from an executive standpoint,
Yeah.
and then just being able to attend events now, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't know that about you when we were both in Minnesota with the
Mhm,
Vikings. I've definitely come to know that about you since, we went our own ways and you retired.
mhm,
But it's pretty cool. You're very well traveled and
mhm.
you got a lot of interests, so it's fun to follow you and hear about it. We can reserve a podcast for that another day. I think today we'll talk Vikings today.
Right.
Um, Pretty fun game, I think, for Vikings Nation, BMac, because you and I certainly respect the people part of this business. Like all these
Mhm,
players are people too that you get to
mhm,
know off the field, and you respect that even when they're not on your team. But from sort of just the Sunday standpoint and the fan standpoint, I mean, this was a big game for Vikings fans. Like they really wanted to just win for their own selves, but also
mhm.
take it to Kirk Cousins, and that's what happened, man. It was
And
lopsided.
I'm sure they're finally satisfied that they got a convincing win too.
Yeah,
So
you're
um,
right. I did see a lot of that. Fans like, finally, we're not waiting until the last
right.
minute. Yeah,
Fans, I definitely wanted to appreciate that because I feel like a lot of the games, are pretty close. So it's like, okay, we finally got a convincing win where we didn't have to be like it wasn't a nail biter towards the end.
yeah. Yeah, it certainly wasn't. And, with the way the game flow happened, it was close through three quarters, but there was a really key moment early in the fourth quarter, BMAC, that happened where Atlanta had scored a touchdown and went for two to tie the game at 21. On the next possession, the first one of the fourth quarter, the Vikings scored a touchdown and went up by 7. They kick off. Atlanta fumbles that kickoff.
Mhm.
Minnesota recovers it, and then they score 7 plays later, 35-21. Basically, the game is over right there. That's a turnover like that has to be super deflating for the team. Would you agree with that?
And
Yeah.
then that's where the momentum changed too. So now it's like a momentum swing, and for some reason it's hard to stop momentum once it starts to swish in somebody else's direction.
Yeah.
It's just hard to like stop things. Just keep snowballing and things just go wrong. And I don't know if it's people who don't like pressure and they're trying to make sure they're doing everything. You end up messing up,
Yeah.
or you know what I mean. So I don't know what that happens, but once that momentum hits, a lot of times it's hard to come back.
Yeah. This this game, the narrative about the game was the Darnold Cousins thing. Um and we talked about it,
Mhm.
how you feel when you're about to go play
I
your
knew I
your
knew it would
former
be a
team.
big deal for both quarterbacks. Kurt want to come back and have a good game against his former team and kind of show like, see, you shouldn't have done this. But then Sam also like. I'm the new regime, and I
Yeah,
wanna show like they made a good decision, and so we finally get to go head to head. So he wanted to make sure Sam wanted to make sure he was the best quarterback on the field that day, and make the Vikings believe like. And I'm glad you took me.
yeah,
So.
yeah. So let me ask you about Sam a little bit. He signed a 1-year contract with the
Mhm,
Vikings for 10 mil. So he's going to be a free agent after this season, and the Vikings drafted JJ McCarthy. So he's obviously their quarterback of the future. So there's something that's going to happen here this spring with Darnold, where the Vikings are going to have a decision to let him go or re-sign him. Probably going to let him go, but we could debate that. But probably going to let him go, and he's going to play somewhere else next year. But I think that no one is thinking about that inside the locker room. I think they're all in on this year. Like, and they showed Sam on the jumbotron inside the stadium. I saw
mhm.
this on TV. And he was waving a towel and pumping his fists. And like little moments like that show you that Sam does have a big payday coming. He will
Mhm.
be playing somewhere else next year, but he's all in right now. I can tell that. Can you?
Yeah, I think so too, and I feel like it's kind of good that we're not thinking about that right now because we can really think about that, when the time comes. Just so everybody just stays focused in the season and try to get as far as we can get. I also think even if the Vikings don't re-sign him, I do think that he's put out enough material for somebody to show interest. People are probably already showing interest and just waiting to see what the Vikings do. So on the flip side, that's still good for him as well. I could see them. I don't know if he's up to it or not, but maybe bring him back to do another 1 more year deal,
Hmm.
um, just to still continue to coach JJ a little bit. Let him learn from him, because he's been focusing like more on rehab this
Yep.
season.
Yep.
So I think that would I mean it would be cool for the Vikings if they had that situation, but really it depends on what Sam wants to do, and if he has the opportunity to get paid somewhere, I'm pretty sure then he'll do that.
Yeah. So he has to think, Sam. I mean, he has to think Minnesota's a good place for him to be,
Mhm.
right? So what's the mindset of talk me through as a player? Like, are you ever thinking I might go somewhere else, even though I could make more there? I might go this other place instead for these other reasons, or is it always who's going to pay me the most?
Now, remember, I made a decision when I went to Baltimore. I could have restructured my contract here at the Vikings, but I was just like, okay, at this point where I'm at in my career, let's try to see where I can go that can give me like a Super Bowl run. So it really depends on what he's looking to do right now. Like he's still kind of early in his career,
Yep.
so it may be a payday thing for him. Um, with a team, if he can find a good payday with a potential team that can get him deep in the playoffs, then that's the best situation.
I would think as like a former top pick, he probably got I think he's gotten I mean, you always
But
will
like your second contract is always your better contract.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Right.
And
So like his
yeah,
first one, it was pretty good because he was a top pick. But when you go to normally your second deal, like your second long deal, is normally a better deal than the
yeah,
first one.
yeah. I don't know when the switch got flipped for me, but I have been on the assumption like it's a 1-year thing here for Darnold and that's it. Like no matter what, 1 year and he's gonna move on. But the way he's playing and how it's going,
And then like look at the record now too. So it's like we took a gamble on this guy. He's produced. So
I
like how do they feel now in the front office? Like you know
I
what I'm
just
saying?
you gotta really, really hesitate to let that walk out the door.
Right.
It's so hard to get the quarterback thing right.
Right.
And I
So it's
get
gonna be
it.
a lot of thought. I think there'll be a lot of thought into that decision when it comes time to make that decision. Like the pros and cons. Like, hey, we took a gamble to bring him in. He's actually produced for us.
Yes.
Do we want to see that just walk away and then and now we have to just have JJ here and it's like he's coming off an injury and he's young though, so he's but do we just see how he does or do we try to find him some years to be under Sam and then like graduate them eventually?
Maybe I'm too conservative of a mindset, but I just am inclined to think you bring him back because I think that even helps JJ McCarthy too.
I do too.
Yeah. And it's just like to let him go and watch him do this for another team or to lose that and then watch maybe JJ go through those rookie struggles that he will go through, even though it's his second year. It's
Yeah.
his first year on the field. There's
Right.
gonna be a learning curve, right? So
Uh-huh.
I think you got to really think long and hard about bringing Darnold back, even though it's going to be a steep price. Because he's earned a big contract. The market's going to be there for him. But
Yeah.
it's fun to see him play this way. I remember, like, the Vikings only scored 12 points against Jacksonville, and we came on here and talked about it, and I'm like, there's a standard that you have to play up to as a quarterback, and Sam is not playing up to that standard. Well, ever since then, he's just been on fire.
Mhm.
Now the flip side of that is Cousins, and this is an interesting thing here too. The Falcons are not out of the playoff race, BMac. They can still win their division. Tampa Bay is leading that division right now, but Atlanta's, I think, a game back, and Atlanta could still win this division. And if they do, there's a chance that Minnesota would go to Atlanta in the playoffs in the first round. Isn't that
Really?
crazy?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's crazy.
So that's crazy. So now the flip side, Cousins here. He's feeling the opposite way, man. I mean, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. You get blown out of the stadium you used to play in against the team you used to play for. He's
Mhm.
down in the dumps, right? How do you respond to that? How do you come back from that?
Um, he has to really shake that off. But I just know he came with the mindset of wanting to put together a good performance back in his stadium.
Yeah.
Is this the first time he's ever been on the other end of this? Did he ever play up here with the Commanders?
Not in this stadium. He did play against the Vikings as a member of the Commanders.
But not in our stadium?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Nope.
So yeah, so that's the difference too. So
Yep.
uh
Yeah.
yeah, and I know like the attitude was that they wanted to kind of play well for him for this reason, but it just didn't work out in his favor. And the Vikings, pulled together and they
Yeah.
put together an impressive win.
Yep. So Darnold, I came across this little statistical nugget I wanted to share with you. Darnold had 5 touchdown passes on Sunday against the Falcons. First Vikings quarterback with 5 touchdown passes in a game since 2004.
Since
BMac.
2004?
5 touchdowns passing in one game. First time since '04 when Dante Culpepper did it. Now, we saw Dante do it. I wasn't with the team at that point. But you were there. You saw Pep do it a bunch. He did 5 touchdowns twice in 2004. He was
Oh wow.
throwing to Moss and Marcus Robinson and Nate Burleson that year. But yeah, isn't that crazy? Favre never did it. He had 4 a few times. But
Right. I didn't think yeah, I was definitely would have thought Favre would have been able to
yeah,
do it.
yeah. So pretty cool stat
2004,
there.
so that's 20 years later.
Yeah, you were blocking for Pep, and
Right.
Moss was running routes with Nate Burleson and Marcus Robinson and Jermaine Wiggins. That's who was.
Jermaine Wiggins.
Yeah. He was
Nice
a
one.
character, wasn't he?
He was. He was always like he reminded me like an older man a little bit just because he's always just walk like, but he'll get out there and run and catch these routes. I'm like, how does this man do this? He struggles to walk and
He's
he get out
crafty.
there.
He's a crafty guy. He played for the Patriots. He
I
won
know, I
some games in his
remember.
career.
And
Yeah,
he
yeah.
definitely was from like Boston because I remember the accent and everything.
Oh, thick.
We keep in
Oh,
touch here and there too. So he reaches out every once in a while.
oh, that's good. Yeah, he was a good guy. He was fun. He was
Yeah, he was.
you kind of had to be, as for me when I was walking around there, I'm not. There's a status in the building, right? Players have the high status. Okay, the staff
Uh,
members, you got to kind of be careful. You got to be sharp around Jermaine Wiggins now because he's got wit and a sense of humor, and he doesn't hold anything
yes.
back. So he's gonna come at you.
That's funny.
He'd be a fun guy to have on, some
Yeah,
for
I gotta get him to come on for
yeah,
sure.
when for whatever game, who knows, whatever. We don't play the Patriots this year, but whatever. He'd be a fun guy to catch up with. But I mentioned those guys: Moss, Burleson, Marcus Robinson, Wiggins, because that's who Culpepper was thrown to when he threw 5 touchdowns in a game in '04.
Mhm.
Well, Darnold is thrown to Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson. So when you compare those two casts of pass catchers, you would draw the comparison between Moss and Justin Jefferson as being the option A. But Jordan Addison would be 1B, or option B,
Mhm.
man. When you have 2 guys like that, BMac, when you guys are game planning and putting plays in, installing plays and game planning for a week. When you have two guys who are essentially wide receiver ones like that, what's that do for an offense that maybe an offense who doesn't have two guys like that they can't do?
It opens up for one of them to get to take advantage of the situation because like it's high chance that Randy Moss will be the one who's going to be double or triple team. So it's
Hmm.
like that opens you up. So you really need to make sure you get your yardage. You know what I'm saying? And them as a receiver, they understand that like, okay, should be my breakout game because I know they're all gonna, at least double team him. So I need to really make sure I'm running my routes correctly.
Yeah. Was there ever talk about like Moss didn't? I was with him in 2010 when he came to the Vikings, but not in that first run when you were with him
Mhm.
there. Was he a me guy? Like, what are my targets? I'm not getting the ball enough, or
No, I never
what?
heard him
What's
really
that
like
like? Okay,
with him. Like I've experienced that,
yeah,
but he wasn't that person. He was trying to like say, hey, if I'm open, if I'm jammed up, you better get up. Like he's coaching his other receivers. Like if they are on me, this opens you up. Like he's a team player.
yep. And then would you see some teams take a chance and not double them and just try and put their best corner on them, or
Yeah,
did he always get
I've
that?
seen that a few times. They feel like their corner can handle him, and
Yeah,
Moss has sometimes showed them otherwise.
yeah, yeah. I just there's just some guys in this league that I don't even know how the heck you would try to cover him. Jamar Chase is one of those
Mhm.
guys. Justin Jefferson, definitely one of those guys. And I just think he presents huge problems for defenses. And I think that Kevin O'Connell is a sharp enough offensive mind to scheme players open anyway. But then when you give him a guy like Jefferson, I mean, it's just doesn't make the job easy. This is not an easy job. But
Mhm.
I got to think when you have a playmaker like that, it just gives you it just gives you access to some ideas and concepts that most teams don't have. You know what I mean?
I just want to say this because I'm just thinking about it.
Yeah.
Whoever I don't know who scouts the wide receivers for the Vikings, but they always pick a really good wide
They're doing
receiver.
a good job, aren't they? Yeah.
But if you look back to Randy Moss, to Chris Carter, to Stephon Diggs, and then just like they always have a premier wide receiver.
Yeah. Adam Thielen.
Yeah, Adam Thielen
Yep.
is like they always like I don't know who scouts that part, but
They're doing a good job.
they're right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's some teams are good at that at scouting receivers. I think Pittsburgh does a hell of a job too. I mean, they
Yeah.
always got good receivers. Like they got George Pickens now, but I mean, and they had Antonio Brown for a while. They found him.
Mhm.
Juju Smith-Schuster was good for a minute
Oh
there.
yeah.
There's just a lot of examples of
Mhm.
they do a great job with receivers. The Eagles always seem to have good receivers as well. But yeah, I'd put the Vikings up there for sure.
Mhm.
All right, so um, this Monday night game now, extra day of prep. What? How do you like to handle that? You like
The
coming?
most the most important thing, sorry to cut you off. The most important thing about
Yeah,
this extra day is rest and
yeah,
recovery. So that's good. But extra day of prep because you're used to cramming in a certain amount of plays and things. So it's really about having an extra day to recover and rest the body.
yeah. Um, would you typically have like game on a Sunday, come in on Monday and do a little bit of maintenance or whatever? Tuesday is off. Do you think Wednesday is off too, or what do you like there? Or do you like coming in and actually having an extra day in the facility so you do work Wednesday
I
like
think you
usual?
come in the facility to do something. It
Yeah,
may not be a physical day. It may be a day of just more mental installs, walkthroughs, things like that. Um, and then you can go back to like Thursday and Friday be your Wednesday and Thursday.
yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yep, I do. And then I think on the coaching side, I think you spend like your Sunday when you would normally play, that becomes your Saturday walkthrough. And
Yeah.
then Monday you're kind of sitting around waiting. I think you
That's the
start
only thing is those games is like you're in the hotel all day long just waiting.
even when
It's
you're the
not
home team, man. Yeah, it's
you're just
it's
sitting
tough.
there all day long. It's like you're ready to like because normally you're used to getting up and you get up, you go down to breakfast, you're playing a 1 o'clock game or a noon game
Yep.
for the Vikings. But like to wait all day long because you got breakfast, then you got to go down for lunch at 3:30. It's like we've been in this hotel all day.
Yeah,
So
even
you
the
have
home
to
teams.
take advantage of it. Yeah, both teams. So
Yep.
you have to just take advantage of all the time you have is really like making the mental things like knowing your plays and getting your go down your first 15 call sheet and knowing exactly what you're gonna do for the first 15 plays and mental reps and things like that. That's what you got to do with that time.
Yeah. Those first 15, is there ever variance there? Like, hey, we plan on these first 15, but this happened, so now we're going off that script.
Yeah. As
Yeah.
the first 15 doesn't always make it to 15. They can make it to like the first 7, 8. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. And it depends on how fast you score.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can get a turnover and get a short field, right? And you start
Right.
in the
And
red
so now you
zone.
have to make adjustments. But you I know for sure these first 4 to 5 plays are we're gonna run those at least those first 4 to 5.
And are those that's because you think that there's something about their defense that they can't really change that you can take advantage of.
Well, not really me, but the offensive coordinator who came up with it. It's something that he's seen, so he feel like this is what we're gonna open up with.
Yep. Yeah. The other thing too, from the coaching side, on this extra day on a Monday night, I think you spend some of that Sunday or Monday. I think you start prepping for your next game. Because
Yeah,
now
you
you have a
can.
short week. On the flip side, you have a short week.
Right. And then you can go. It gives them time to watch football. Well, they watched football yesterday for Monday
Yep.
Night Football,
y-
and probably evaluated some other teams too. But
Yep.
then they're already ready to go to put their install in tomorrow, and at least walk through things. You don't have to be physical tomorrow. Just give them guys extra days. Make sure you come in and do something for recovery. But we're gonna install the plays. We're gonna watch film. We're gonna just do a whole bunch of mental work, and then we'll get back on the field. The 2 days after that.
Yeah. So when the Vikings start prepping for the Bears BMac, they're going to turn on film and watch a team that I think they've lost 7 in a row. I mean, they haven't won since October 13th. It's December 10th. That's almost 2
Oh
months,
man.
man. Yeah. So, they've lost that many in a row and they've fired their coach. So they're going to turn tape on and it's not going to look good. So,
And it may look different.
what's the challenge there?
Um, it may look different because now it's a new coach. And sometimes if people don't they like the newer coach, then they'll
Yeah.
try to raise the level of play. And then it's just they could be a spoiler now, like you know what I mean. But
Yeah.
I feel like even though they haven't won so many games, they've tried to keep a lot of these games close. They just haven't been able to close them out. So you can't just sleep on these teams and just feel like just because you look at their record, because they still are fighting, putting up a fight. Like you know what I mean? They're
Yeah.
not getting blown out. They're putting up a fight still. It's just they're not closing out. So don't go in here with the mindset of this is going to be easy just because you see their record.
How do you impart that message though on some of I think you, BMac, you had a championship mindset. Yeah, I mean, you were a starter for a long time and you played at a
Mm.
high level and not every player is necessarily cut out like that. So how do you impart that message on everyone up and down the roster?
In my mind, I'm just looking at winning my battle.
Yeah,
As long as I'm winning my battle, that's helping the team. So I just need other people, like everybody else, to just hey, go out here and win your battle, and collectively that should help us win the overall war. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah. I do know what you're saying, but I think you need someone. You're right.
Yeah, but that goes to the guys in the locker room, and how they respond to certain people. Like I said, like certain people are leaders in the locker room.
Yeah,
So if they speak up, and just remind guys and let them know how important it is not to overlook a team because of their record. And they say things just to remind people because some people can get a little lackadaisical, like, oh, this shouldn't be too
for
bad.
sure. Yeah,
Um, and they just have that my reminder that you still got to play. Like you know what I'm saying?
yeah. I,
And
I
always they're getting paid on the other side of the ball too.
they're on scholarship too,
Right.
right?
That's what you say that.
Yeah, and you know what though? I mean, you turn on the Bears tape for the Vikings, the first game, that went to overtime. So
Right.
that should help the coaches and some of those veteran leaders like, "Hey, let's look at this. We almost lost to this team."
Right.
You know what I mean? Um, but all the momentum is certainly going Minnesota's way. It's going to be a fun building to be in, BMac on Monday night. What's the plan
Mhm.
for you? I know you were planning on coming to this game, so what's going on Monday for you?
I'm just gonna come in and, and
Yeah.
enjoy the game. Yeah, I don't have any really big plans. See what the Vikings have, for me if they have to host anybody sweet or anything. But yeah, I'm just coming to enjoy the game.
I'll be there as well. Is Tommy Harris coming?
I
I
gotta
know.
ask Tommy.
Yeah,
Because I remember before we were
yeah,
talking about possibly him coming up for that game.
yeah. Should be a fun environment. They're wearing their whiteout jerseys too. So, um, they're wearing some, it's an alternative uniform that they is just for this game, and then the fans are encouraged to wear all white. So it's a big whiteout game
Okay.
at US Bank Stadium. So
I'm glad you told me.
yeah, so now you know, man. Hey, the
Right.
Vikings should be telling you that. Come on now.
Right. I done talked to Tom a couple times. He ain't mentioned it.
Yeah, we got to remind Tom to tell everyone else that, because I'm sure you won't be the only alumni in the building for that game. That'll be a
Right.
fun game. So, all right. Well, it'll be another BMac Monday on a Tuesday next week,
Mhm.
because it doesn't make sense for us to record on Monday since the Vikings play Monday night. So
Right.
you and I will be back on Tuesday. Bummer about your Canes, man. They didn't make it in the college
I
football
know.
playoff. What the heck? What the heck?
Oh yeah, with one more game to go, and
What's the bowl game? Where are they at?
I have to find out. I'm not sure where they're playing at.
Yeah, it's a bummer. I think they're one of the 12 best teams. I wish they were in the playoff, man.
Yeah,
That's no
I
good.
do
That's a
too.
bummer. Well, you can channel all your energy now into the Vikes. Okay.
Right.
All right, man. Well, have a great week. I'm sure we'll connect when you're in Minnesota, and we'll both be at the game. And then believe in Vikings. BMac Monday will be a BMac Tuesday next week. BMac and I will be back to talk about the Vikings and the Bears game. So have a good week, okay, BMac?
Okay.
All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Believe in Vikings. Thank you, as always, for watching and for listening. Make sure you download, like, follow, and subscribe to Believe in Vikings, and you can hear from BMac every single Monday during the season and the playoffs. Once you do, we'll see you there. Until next time, everybody, keep believing.